Welcome to the Epic Company Culture Podcast, where your host, Josh Sweeney, will give you, the business leaders, HR professionals, and company culture aficionados, the knowledge you need to take your company culture to the next level.
Hello, my name is Josh Sweeney, and welcome to the Epic Company Culture Podcast. This is Season 3, all about employee retention and company culture. Before I get started, I would like to thank Prototype Prime for this amazing podcast space, and also thank my co-host, Crystal Sweeney.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, thank you. And the topic of today is employee pains. So, at any point in time, every employee is going through some sort of pain, some sort of challenge. So we have to talk about what those challenges can be. Again, we're talking about the intangibles of company culture, the interactions, and the things that really lead to better employee retention over time if addressed correctly. So what are some of the pains that people are running into? What are the challenges employees have in the current work environment, that are causing challenges?
Yeah, don't we wish that we could never have to experience pain, right?
Maybe.
but that's just not going to happen. There are a lot of things that can be causing employees some pain. One of them would be maybe they're not getting enough of the work-life balance that they would like. If they're a highly valued employee, they may have taken on a little bit more than what they had intended, or they're just highly relied on. And sometimes that might be long work hours, working on the weekends, working late nights, and that can throw what they want for a work-life balance. That can throw that off, and that creates pain with what we're talking about. Another thing that might be creating pain is when people implement change. Sometimes change is hard. I mean, right. It's extra work. It's a learning curve, and that ultimately creates pain with what we're talking about. Another thing is, with change, sometimes we may be implementing a new solution, but with it being an idea and like, oh, well, we've got a new solution for this problem that we're solving over here. Sometimes that might actually create more problems. And you don't know that until those projects get started and those solutions start getting implemented. And then it's like, oh, wait, well, we didn't, consider this. That's painful, for a company. Oh, yeah. Absolutely painful for a company. And then, there's when employees leave or when new employees start. When an employee leaves, it changes the dynamic of the work environment. They might miss the employee that left. They may have relied on them for something else. It may create extra stress on, now who's going to take care of that job? Maybe that means me. Maybe right. I need to take on all that responsibility until we find somebody to replace them. And then when that person comes in that does replace them, then it's the pains of having to train that person and wait for them to get up to speed to be able to get back to that level of production that they were at.
Yeah, and I think there's all kinds of challenges that come about from, work-life balance to people moving in and out of the organization. And then you throw in personal challenges, right? I mean, people experience things at home and they bring them to the work environment. And, obviously that causes new dynamics and new challenges in ways that you would never even expect a lot of times.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So when it comes to alleviating the pain, like what are some ways that we are able to kind of monitor these challenges, become aware of these challenges in the work environment, and make sure that we can help them with these items?
Right. I think it comes back to a theme that we have seen across many of the different retention items that we've talked about. It's the communication. Mm-hmm. Again, it's the communicating with them on what their problems may be. It may be in the form of a survey. It could be, in a review. It could be a simple walking by, I want to check in on you. It could be providing feedback like, hey, we've implemented this process last week. How's that going? And that gives them a platform to be able to express those pains about the other problems that had, came up in implementing that new solution. So absolutely, communication is probably the number one way of alleviating the pain. Is it money? Does this person maybe need to be compensated a little bit more for what work that they're putting in? That sometimes can help ease that pain a little bit. Another thing is maybe integrating more family time. Give them a day off, an unplanned day off. You've been working really hard. Take Friday off. Go spend time with your family. That may give them the break that they need to be able to reset. So that's a good thing that they can do. The one thing that I would like to just say is super important is to be observant. When you walk in your office, what does it feel like? When you look at your employees, does somebody not do they look stressed? I mean, because some employees who will take on the responsibilities, they'll take it head on. Those are the great employees that you want. But a lot of time, they're not going to be the ones to raise their hand and say, I'm struggling. I'm having a problem. And if you're not aware that they're unhappy or you're not paying attention, you can usually see signs. Then, that might send them into an unhappy spiral that you could have possibly kind of came in and said, hey, are you okay? So just being observant of the people that you rely on the most.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think observing that, and then also giving a safe place to share those items. There's lots of different ways that, it can be challenging to open up about those items in a work environment, and making sure that communication can happen. I know we talked about the your why or my why exercise that we do. And, you get to uncover a lot about the dynamics of what people are going through at home, whether, they're taking care of a sick mother or father, or, whether they're the sole caretaker of a brother or sister. We see all kinds of things that can be a challenge, and, they don't always have to do with money. Some of them are in passing. Some of those are things that they dealt with that day that are going to pass, and some of those things are going to be there for a long period of time.
Right.
And there's lots of different ways that we can help with that for, in order to retain our best employees. Yeah. So, in closing, we would like you to think about what are the challenges that some of your employees are having, and how can you come up with creative ways to understand those challenges, as well as hopefully help them overcome or get through them, or even help them with that pain over a period of time so that you can retain the best employees that you have. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Epic Company Culture Podcast with Josh Sweeney. If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe on iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. For additional content and transcripts, visit epicculture.co. If you have questions or topics you would like us to address or expand on, tweet us at epicculture1 or email at podcast@epicculture.co.